sweet.
Such a nice transition.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, Rose, I think we agree with those predictions. I think the only thing we were going to say is, well, yes, Florida are A+. I know A++, because they haven't gotten a 3-0 sweep since their very first match. They can't even 3-0 Vancouver and New York.
That is definitely something I want to keep my eye on for this series because it would be super confidence boosting to see Florida Mayhem come in here and get that 3-0 shutdown onto the Washington Justice. But when it comes down to even the Sombra matchup, this is where I really love the differentiation in play styles between these two teams. There's not too much difference across the board, especially when it comes down to actual hero damage. But oh my gosh, the enemy's hacked, Jen. That's a lot of difference there.
Yeah, that's the biggest difference between these two, and the fact that you're not seeing a huge amount of extra damage coming out of Flora despite hacking 5 more extra enemies per 10 tells me that Flora is hacking people but maybe not doing enough damage and translocating early. He's a safe player. He doesn't take a lot of risks. He doesn't want to be the problem on the Justice. And you saw that yesterday on Dorado when Flora on Tracer just couldn't keep Hisang in check, wasn't having huge impacts, didn't have his way around the map, and that kept Flora just not being able to make plays to turn fights.
Florida has had a great season on the Sombra so far, but it definitely does come down to team versus team, how they want to play around that hero pick. And when it comes down to Merit's performance on the Sombra, you have to look at how well someone as an aggressive main tank is able to keep up the pressure onto whoever Merit ends up hacking. Maybe that's why we see a little bit of that less hero damage in that department when it is a team-wide effort. But let's talk about something else that was really interesting on the preview of both of these teams, and that's Ben Best starting out on the Washington Justice today.
Yeah, it's time for the Justice redemption. They want justice for justice. Ben Best came in on Ana yesterday. If you were asleep, well, you could stay asleep for that match. Donghoon was experiencing ping issues. It was revealed by their coach Get Amazed that Donghoon is having visa issues and playing from home. And like Jake mentioned on the desk after the post game, that Brig requires just quick reactions. So they thought that, that was leading to a lot of fight losses. They put Ben Best on Ana, Teru on Brig, and that led to, well, a 3-0 loss for them. So now that Ben Best is here on tank, you're expecting Ryan, especially on Lijiang Tower.
Absolutely. I would love to see maybe Reinhardt. We've seen Ben Best also potentially bring out the Ramatra for a map like this, but Reinhardt has just been one of Ben Best's absolute best tanks. Would love to see the Reinhardt versus the Ramatra. Florida Mayhem has been playing a lot of that Ramatra rush, and there are ways that Justice can absolutely play around that. If they're not confident in the Reinhardt versus the Ramatra, then there are a lot of other tanks that we're starting to see play with, like the Orisa, like the Junker Queen. That is a tank that has seen way more play heading into these last few weeks.
Yeah, with the Queen, this is run a lot in APAC just to, well, either get the speed right at the doors just like now, but to get 2 options of speed with the Lucio if you want to keep it in throughout that. But Ben Best is subbed in mainly for the Rhine. You even saw that once on Numbani. Someone, though, likes to play Rhine himself, but a lot of teams preferring the Ramatra rush to counter the Rhine. Speaking of which, well, Ben Best pins down someone, and Alpha Yi blocks off the heals from someone, so he's not getting any support. And with Chorong that was trying to get involved, he gets deleted from the equation too. It'll be Justice with the first fight.
Justice with a really strong engagement as well. You saw the Alpha Yi Maywall be able to isolate someone on Florida Mayhem, and then all of a sudden it was just dominoes falling over. Washington Justice are able to hold the door as well, with Ben Best just trying to pepper in some fire strikes, get a little bit more of that charge towards the Earth Shatter. Florida Mayhem want none of this though. Look at this rotation they're going to take away from that main choke, and actually RuPaul's gonna get caught out by that.
Oh, great shot by Flora. See Justice kind of hunting to see can they get any more staggers, but this will lead to Alpha Yi having a Blizzard, and a very early one compared to Checkmate, which can hold the choke.
Oh my goodness. You're gonna see Checkmate try to wrap around again.
What? Oh, that looks like Alpha Yi's own Maywall, but it's kind of a white pinky type, like Checkmate. They're on top of block the engagement of Justice off an early Blizzard from Alpha Yi, but I thought Mayhem was quick enough to cross, but apparently not enough. Good attempt to stop it, but Justice with another fight.
Justice with another fight win, and that was also the amplification matrix out of RuPaul's kit. So no longer an ultimate on the board to help the Florida Mayhem zone off the Justice. And Florida Mayhem are going to try that approach, maybe in a split approach to around, but Benbest is ready for the shatter.
Okay, Benbest almost got grouped in, but now he's walled in. Checkmate throws the Blizzard. See if he can trap Benbest. They managed to escape. Good speed from Donghoon. Shatter on the ground. Checkmate is the only one hit. Counter those, the annihilation of someone trying to zone out the Justice, who may have overstayed their welcome. And Mayhem fight their way back to the point, but with an 85% start for the Justice, it's going to be a long road ahead for them.
They have the overclock. That's a great way for Florida Mayhem to be able to keep the Justice at bay, even try to get some extra damage down onto Benbest Reinhardt shield. But after that, you're looking at the sound barrier from Chorong being an answer as well to either the amplification matrix from Teru or even just trying to play a bit more aggressive. Florida Mayhem, though, the onus is on... and I guess Merit... okay.
Just absolute Gapplebees that Merit just delivered to Flora, and Flora's the one who pulled the trigger first. Maybe just didn't have a clue where Merit was, I don't know. But that will give Florida a chance to close the gap and also the score.
Chorong, the absolute Uber Eats driver of the century over there. You gotta use the Lucio speed to help maneuver those pieces around. We're seeing Chorong and Donghoon do a fantastic job of that. Able to have those micro positions against the other team, and especially when you want to have maybe Merit on the high ground, even on either the top or the right-hand side, you need that Lucio to help reposition as well when Benbest is trying to close the gap.
And speaking of that high ground, that position you talked about, RuPaul on the high ground with the solo amp matrix, no one from Justice can access that, at least not easily. Florida, yes, can climb, but look what happened to him. He got picked, so Florida will be taking the lead very soon.
Flora also switching to the Hanzo. What a great use of the Storm Arrows to help delete that shield from the Ramatra so that Benbest can get in there and just start swinging away with the hammer without too much trouble. Same with Alpha Yi as well. Those icicles have been quite deadly. Look at another Blizzard online for both Alpha Yi and Checkmate. This point is about to freeze.
Florida holding on, taking the lead. Blizzard from Alpha Yi, the speed from Donghoon, the tempo engage into Florida, who counter with their own ultimates. The Checkmate Blizzard thrown right at Benbest, the annihilation barrier and more. It's left with a 4v4 with someone just rolling down the hills of Justice with no Benbest standing in his way. From 0 to 100, Florida do the comeback on Control Center.
It's always so tough on Control Center because when you're running these rush compositions, whenever you get that first capture, it is so defensively favored. So Washington Justice getting the first point capture, you get a chance to play with a little bit more of that advantage behind you, whether you can kite away from some of that damage or even have a bit more free reign for Flora to try to get a quick shot onto Mayhem and stagger them out. You saw that a few times around, but then she was on the other foot. Florida Mayhem were able to get that first pick, get back control of the point, and it's so hard to get back in there after that when you have Checkmate on the May as well to just keep control and kind of push the fights in your favor if you're Florida.
And those first picks by Florida, because they were so proactive on that defense though, but the Symmetra TP from Merit, surprised that wasn't maybe placed on the point, as they now are thinking about
everyone's
hiding and waiting for the point to unlock, and maybe that cooldown to be back. Either way, Florida will be able to defend. How did Washington break this?
I liked the patience from Florida Mayhem. They saw the Pharah from Alpha Yi just raining some shots down onto the Reinhardt shield, waited for that cooldown to come offline so that Alpha Yi just didn't have free reign, and then started to make their way towards the point. That was great, so nobody got caught off by any type of stray Pharaoh rocket coming down behind that Reinhardt shield. But now, Washington Justice are playing this poke game. Alpha Yi gets a chance to shoot down from one window. Flora trying to weasel his way behind the point with Benbest and just to try to knock somebody out of position.
And that's what Justice are doing, corralling them, poking from all angles. They don't want to play this front to back, and watching someone try to defend his team was like Mama Duck shielding her little ducklings. And eventually this was going to crack because Florida don't have a good target to engage on. So it was inevitable. Justice will take back the point at 35%.
Justice did a great job of that too. You see Alpha Yi with the Mercy damage boost already with Farah Rocket Barrage. look how far forward they're going to be able to play with this, because as soon as Florida Mayhem move in, that Reinhardt shield, not usually a great way to be able to deal with that. We're going to see someone on the Winston as well to make that swap over, but the Winston bubble also not the best way to be able to counter the Pharah barrages. It's not going to last too long.
Oh, the direct rocket hits Chorong too. The hack hits Alpha Yi. He's down onto the ground, but Merit's the only one putting damage into him, and with the Mercy Pocket too, it's gonna be tough to take down Alpha Yi. Speaking of which though, Donghoon is missing. RuPaul tried to be involved in that fight. Alpha Yi says sit, and Justice will take back the lead. There is someone back capping that might be checkmate, and with that focus kind of split from Justice, who is capping the point? What do I do in this moment in the middle of the map? Justice are now getting picked from all sides, and Florida, it wasn't gonna be an easy take of the point as Florida raced back to prevent the back cap.
That was so sneaky. I mean, Florida can definitely try that. At least it takes the pressure off of their entry route by spawn. But Washington Justice still haven't used many of their ultimates here. It was just the pulse bomb thrown at that last fight. And with the rocket barrage, 66%. Washington Justice, they got the ult economy.
He just barrel stuffed someone with like point blank barrage. And Chorong doesn't want that smoke either. Alpha Yi. It's just an alpha beast on this, 80%. Last fight coming up for the Justice for round 3.
Last fight, they still have the nano boost. They still have the Valkyrie as well. Just oh, Florida goes down, but you're a Tracer. You're getting back. Alpha is just gonna hold the supports at the door. Oh my goodness.
EMP from Merit, did it hit? I think it might have hit Alfie, but he got nanoed, which covers the thing on the UI. Either way, Florida race to the point to keep the overtime wick burning, but Alpha Yi is protecting it. Soundbeer from Chorong only hits Merit and someone in himself. Will it be enough? RuPaul has to stay alive to deliver the nano. This is last fight, but didn't find a good target. Florida hunts him down, but still Florida have the number advantage. Merit pulled his weight.
Merit was able to get through Ben Best Wrecking Ball. That is a tough hero to play against the Sombra. You get hacked and you just become a giant ultimate battery. But that's why we're going to see Ben Best switch over to the Winston. Also easier to initiate together. You're not waiting for Alpha Yi to get set up with the Pharah. And so it's just going to be Tracer Sombra Winston on both sides. But Washington got out that EMP so early that they're able to now start working through some of their own ultimate charge, try to get that online, and even take maybe an eco push here, see if they can get the pulse bomb out of checkmate and the nano from RuPaul.
This is a safe positioning from RuPaul. Like, Florida have the point, but are in main. Obviously worried about the double flanker of Alpha Yi and Flora. So Florida go back to the point too to make sure that, well, Justice aren't going to cap while Florida are playing that far back. And it's RuPaul that still holds the nano from that last fight. And the more time that Justice take to initiate this fight, this is going to come down to the wire, where Florida have the tools to engage, and EMP and a nano is coming up. You see Merit getting into position. He's already hacked Teru, who's not getting enough support. Donghoon might have thrown a pack his way. Someone is on top too with the nano, and Florida stuffing them. Ben Best got antied. He's evaporated, and Justice can't defend this. Florida will touch one last time for the overtime. Around the corner too is Donghoon, but Florida clearly made their mark. It's Alpha Yi with one last EMP, but he can't do it all himself. Florida, the overtime wick burns away, and they take game 1.
That was too bad about the timing issue there for when Washington Justice had to start making those swaps. Alpha Yi just wasn't able to get that EMP up in time for the Justice to initiate on that critical ultimate. And Merit too, let's give him a ton of credit. He had just used the EMP before that previous fight and got another one online so fast. It took him almost a minute, like, to get the Sombra EMP. That's pretty amazing given the stats that we saw earlier on for the Merit and Alpha Yi Sombra versus Sombra.
I know it was a 2-0 when it came to the rounds though, but 100 to 85, then 100 to 99, both
so
counter
close.
Swapping, right? Even on Night Market, Florida started off on Rush, then went to the dive. Justice have been best on Hammond. Maybe I just don't know the guy well enough. I didn't know that wasn't his kid, but obviously that's to complement the trying to break the point composition, especially around Alpha Yi and Flora's hero pool. That fits them perfectly. Ben Best needs to be there to just reposition them and try to get them into the line of fire of their DPS. Up next, though, is Eichenwald with Florida with a strong start. Will they get the sweep? Will Justice hang in there? We'll find out after the break. Florida are up 1-0 in the series. But hey, I thought that was a pretty good fight by the Justice when it came to Li Zhang, but we got some subs, and we'll see how Mirror does this time around.
Yeah, it's going to be Mirror coming into the roster for Benbest for the Washington Justice, and as we're heading over to Eichenwald as our next map, makes a lot of sense. Play a little bit more of that Winston dive on this map, and that's going to be a great way for Mirror to start to initiate some of these fights, and maybe we get a chance to see some Echo, maybe more Pharah. I really liked that from Alfie.
Yeah, that's always been a good look from him, even when he came from APAC. Like, his Echo was just one of the best. Like, he deserves all the nanos, all the praise. Mirror is also hydrated, caffeinated. He seems so chill right now. I'd be nervous, like, coming in after, like, a map loss, trying to turn things around. But this is an incredibly dependable tank for the Justice. They prefer Mirror in the lineup. Benbest, you saw the Ryan strats and how close that got against Florida. But at the end, it's the Benbest. We saw the Benbest Hammond, which was pretty funny. Almost worked out.
That was so cool. That's something that a lot of the APAC teams have been playing. The Wrecking Ball dive, the bit of the Pharah poke. Especially on Li Zhang, I feel like that can be ultra effective, knowing that you have all of that space behind the points, potentially knock somebody off of the map, and just overall, it's a great way to help initiate some of these dives, boop somebody up into position for Pharah to go ahead and take them out. But Eichenwald here, Mirror, haven't seen a whole lot of Wrecking Ball coming out from him, but he does provide a ton of flexibility when it comes down to potentially playing the Winston and also the Ramatra rush that is so nice to have on Eichenwald for third point.
And speaking of the rush, speaking of Eichenwald, Florida, this was the only map they lost against the Atlanta Reign. Again, like, allergic to sweeps, but the fact that they won against Atlanta at all kind of surprised a lot of people, that Florida are coming into that conversation of being made potentially the #1 team, #2 team. They're chasing that throne, while as Justice are trying to not circle the drain. Obviously, they're dealing with visa issues. This is not them at their peak. But on Eichenwald, someone and friends really liked the rush, which was interesting. It was like a Rhine defense and eventually swapped to the Winston on attack, but wasn't successful for them.
Reinhardt, I think we see a little bit of that Winston coming out from them. Florida have honestly played so many different compositions on this map in particular, and just in the meta overall in these first few weeks of the summer stage, it's hard to get a read on what they're going to want to come out of the gates with. The Washington Justice are set up on the defense. They've got the Alpha Yi Echo and the Mirror Winston. I see some of that Echo dive, which was super popular for them. Alpha Yi's Echo, another standout here, and Checkmate's gonna go ahead and match that.
And Taro often gives nanos to Alpha Yi because just the burst potential that Echo has, especially at dismantling tanks. Speaking of which, Mirror is antied, forced to jump back towards point. That's free space for Florida to start moving up. Alpha Yi, though, in the sky will be kept in check. As soon as he lands on the ground, it's also a window of opportunity for something like Merit to chase down, or Flora on the other side against Checkmate. But as Mirror tries to step forward out of that defensive position, he gets antied. Well, RuPaul's had his number. At least you get the trade there, and that's Florida getting at least the first tick.
Oh, especially when Alfie goes down here too. This is just a domino effect if the Florida Mayhem can keep this pressure of the Justice to bully the supports away. They're not in a good position right now, even if Mira comes back.
Ideally, when you're in trouble on the defense as a support, you want to go to a mini pack room, so when reinforcements do come, like, you actually have a chance to recontest. Now this is just the most brutal stagger, and guarantees that Florida have more ult charge when they get that ace from that, which can turn into a snowball situation. I mean, Checkmate is still flying into the distance, killing Alpha Yi.
Someone's just over at the castle doors already? Oh my gosh, the stick too! Florida Mayhem! Oh, poor Justice right now. That is a rough position to be in. Not only did you isolate the supports the wrong direction on that first point, but now you're also getting critical staggers where that cart is already starting to push past the first set of castle doors into the courtyard, and Justice haven't had a chance to get set up on this defense yet.
These Justice finally stabilized. I was saying a snowball potential kind of started turning into an avalanche. That means Checkmate already has dupe, but he's not that far ahead over Alpha Yi, where I could expect Checkmate to look for the Tracer, but actually both Echoes got Nano, but Merit now teaming up to deal with Alpha Yi. It's a lot of damage mitigation thanks to that Nano. Checkmate dupes the Ana for the ante, and it's still not enough to turn the fight for the Mayhem. And with Checkmate missing, there's a lot of damage gone. Drawing with the rally, it reinvigorates Merit. But they just can't seem to punch through the Justice, even with the well-placed antes of RuPaul onto Mirror, who still managed to hold on to the Primal. So Justice, well, they're getting kills every now and then, but Mayhem are also still pushing the card.
That's why you're gonna see Alfie go ahead and invest into the duplicate onto the Tracer, try to push the Florida Mayhem back once and for all. But look at how much investment happened across the board. Florida Mayhem through all 5 ults of that fight. Washington Justice 4. It's just Mirror's Primal Rage that's going to be left to help defend this card. But that was a absolute slobber knocker of a fight right there.
Yeah. I like the coordination behind Merit and Checkmate, but clearly Alpha Yi and Flora are synced up on the same page. Alpha Yi finds himself synced up with Spawn, so it's an opening for Florida in a 5v4, and Mirror might have to pop Primal, but error. He'll get that second jump to go to high ground, but if he didn't pop that, he would be dead, and Justice have already faced one avalanche. And it's Mirror that continues to live, but kind of overstaying his welcome. He wants to protect Hero and Donghoon, who just didn't drop off this high ground quick enough. So Florida stopped them and don't allow them to escape, and Justice are just gonna get staggered from each other.
They're getting so split apart. And that's allowing the Florida Mayhem to capitalize on a 2v1 or a 3v1 situation where they're gonna go ahead and just grab the second checkpoint already. That's going to be 4 minutes in the time bank now for them to get to that final destination of third. With 5 ultimates in the bank once again, Alfie's going to switch over to the Sojourn. Hope to get any pick. That was a great way to be able to kick off Lee Shang when you had the Sojourn, but it's also off the board now as Florida Mayhem continued their rampage forward.
That's a difficult stick for Merit too. Alpha, he's just not quick enough on the jump. Flora tries to blink into the action, misses his pulse. Justice just can't get staggered anymore, but they know they have close respawn, so they will nano mirror, and as Checkmate went for the dupe, he slept, but woke right up. Someone is making a ton of space. He even got the nano from RuPaul, so the extra damage sends Alpha right back to spawn, who just hasn't had a chance to play much Sojourn yet. Meanwhile, Donghoon with the rally, trying to stun up the dive, but Justice have no space to work with, and as they get lower and lower, Checkmate's focusing beam is finishing off target after target. This time bank is insane. Justice needs to touch. Flora needs to blink onto cart. Alpha Yi will at least be there with the ice block, but how long will Flora live? He recalls out, mirrors back into the picture, but Florida have Checkmate on top of this chandelier, who is untouchable. He's invincible. I don't even think Checkmate is human. 3 minutes for Florida.
That is so much time. That was a minute to take that third push. That was it. Florida Mayhem, they started with that snowball in first, and you call it an avalanche. Landslide. Like, landslide into the finish line there. Florida Mayhem were looking so clean and so aggressive. Washington just never got a chance to dig their heels into the sand and actually get a cohesive defense together.
Yeah, Teru and Donghoon have to be careful with their positioning. I'm noticing them kind of disengaging to the wrong areas, like thinking about the point where, I think I misspoke and called that mini, but the other side, the left mega, where reinforcements would be coming from, that's where you usually fall back to on a support, so that, you know, your reinforcements are there, or you can just keep backing up towards your own spawn. And just as Teru Donghoon found themselves on an island, same thing on point B, where they were down 4v5. Donghoon and Teru never got off the high ground. Maybe you could say Mirror's juggle on the Primal could have pushed Florida off the bridge, but Teru and Donghoon have found themselves in a pickle very often.
I think you can give more credit to Florida Mayhem in those situations. Someone, not just the Primal Rage as you called out, but there's so much pressure from Checkmate's Echo onto this backline that Teru and Donghoon oftentimes don't even have a choice except to try to back away into a disadvantageous spot. It's been so tough because of how aggressive Florida Mayhem are playing things for them to really feel like they can actually make any headway towards the right call. But sides are switching. Washington Justice have always been a more attack-focused team. And let's see what they're able to get done with the Alpha Yi Genji. Oh my goodness, what a throwback.
What a throwback. Just hoping.
I'm so excited.
Get some assassinations, some dash resets, and maybe a better win condition around the Nano Blade. Alpha E maybe wasn't sticking as much as Florida was on their side when it comes to pulse bombs. Someone stepping up defensively, and Alpha E just pops over him and is harassing everyone, tries to go after Merit. Not successful. Even Merit on the Cassidy may be able to stop some of these dives. Florida will hold on defensively.
Florida holding on with the Reinhardt rush as well. This is a look that we ended up seeing from them versus the New York Excelsior a little bit, mostly though in their match versus the Atlanta Reign. And something that I thought was really unique, because typically on Eichenwald you don't see the rush until a third point, but someone has always been such a consistent Reinhardt and Ramatra. To be able to see that is always so fun, especially on a defense when you've got Charong to just wrap around this middle point.
Wow,
like
someone
look.
is just beating them all simply to death. And you got RuPaul's Ant Matrix as Justice were approaching, which was well-timed, well-placed. Justice, their biggest problem is going to be gap closing, where Cassidy Nade stops that, and Ant Matrix is going to burst you down. Alfie, I'm seeing him use a lot of cooldowns early, and that's going to limit how much space he can take. So, seeing Justice have bolts coming up at least.
Yeah, they got the EMP. That could be huge. Flora is just going to have to wait very patiently, but you can see Merit hunting for Flora. Take a look at the magnetic grenade just going into Oblivion, but time for the EMP soon.
So the primal from Mirror, splitting everyone up from the Florida Mayhem, and the Deadeye to push Justice back, doesn't connect. Mirror still in primal, trying to defend his team. Alpha E receives the nano a little too early. You see Justice getting desperate. Taro gives his life for it. Full support's gone, and the shatter from someone shatters the hopes and dreams of Justice, who are down to 90 seconds after a 4-ult fight. Justice don't even get a tick.
Oh, that's so devastating. I know they were going for the nano onto Alfie's Genji just to be able to get that blade online and then go ahead and go for things. But the Flora EMP came a little too late to make sure that they weren't going to succumb to something like a sleep of Bionate, anything coming through really from the Florida Mayhem. That's really rough position for the Justice to be in. You're going to see them switch immediately to go over to the Ramatra and the Tracer instead.
Oh,
working out.
The shutdown, RuPaul's potential of the Ant Matrix that could have sprayed Justice down before they got close. Someone brings out the shield and stops the sleep. That or Taro might have missed by like a centimeter. Not sure. But that was an important engagement, because now without Teru, there's very little heals for the Justice. Sound Barrier needs to be used by Donghoon. 31 seconds left if things get hairy, but it seems like Florida are just not around to recontest. And that's the cap for Justice.
Good capture. A little bit of extra time now in the bank, but Merit had already received a pick, and now is just going to come back in with the Soldier and clean up the job.
Oh. Soldier is now a rush hero. He's got the unbranded
He got the
on. He just ran at them. That's when I thought Florida didn't want to recontest. They just wanted your spawns a bit closer so they could camp you.
Well, this is the perfect place for this card to have stopped if you're the Florida Mayhem. You haven't opened up those doors yet. Washington Justice, they're going to be stuck here in the court. First point.
Yeah, Jack! Dog tried the barrier and might have either got hacked. Got hacked by Checkmate.
Sad.
But Florida's being proactive. That initiative they take is why they were able to defend, make that 0 to 100 comeback on Li Zhang. Merit's having a blast playing Soldier, and we'll see if Justice can break out a spawn.
Justice have the EMP. They can throw that into this fight to be able to open up the doors. They've already gotten that card close enough. And there's the EMP.
Beautiful EMP from Flora, catches the supports of Trong and RuPaul when Florida were still just trying to disengage at the choke. Finally, Justice get the punish they were looking for, and it only cost them an EMP. You know, it could have costed more. Flora keeps Checkmate in check. Justice can move forward safely.
Yeah, a really nice call for the EMP just to try to get these doors open. And now that the card is moving, Washington Justice can play around this a little bit better. They've got a ton of buildings to work around. They don't necessarily have to go to the high ground here. They're just going to block that off anyway, so they have no choice.
Mirrors is shaking the fence. Let me out! I'm nanoed. Annihilation. But someone with the shatter only hits Teru and Donghoon, but only Donghoon remaining. Yes, he's finished off by Checkmate on the flank, and Mirror is not going to have healing to truly pop off with this annihilation. It's left with a 3v1 in favor of Florida, as Flora disengages.
All right, Flora disengaging. Alfie going back to spawn. That's going to be the Tracer switching for the Echo here. Playing around this verticality a little bit better. You can get the height onto the high ground, maybe push somebody off. That's something that the Echo was able to provide on the defense for the Justice, so it's got to work on the attack now too before Checkmate's going to get the CMP on the backline.
Like someone giving up that high ground control just to contest the card as much as he can. Justice will be needing to remove him by force, but Justice rotating through Castle to try and access someone like Trong and RuPaul. Someone hacked, finished off. EMP in response by Checkmate in that 4v5 as Trong invests the sound barrier. They weren't confident they could flip that 4v5, and it works out for them. Florida synergized well to shut down the Castle rotations of Justice. We still have someone lingering on the card, and Alfie's not there.
Oh, they can't touch anymore.
RIP. Alfie, yeah, was like the last one left. Florida Mayhem go to match point after holding Justice before point B. I had fun. You could tell that Florida are also having fun. The Dusk said they're having the time of their lives. Meredith's laughing. He's locking soldiers. Someone is just charging random things. I'm having fun too.
Hey, I'm having fun watching Florida Mayhem have fun. It's an unfortunate situation for the Justice right now. And Florida Mayhem, though, are playing at peak. And when we look at their performance over the summer stage, we would hope that they'd be able to get a 3-0 victory in this just to have that confidence moving forward and solidify themselves as the top team in this stage so far. Look at the impressive wins that the Mayhem have been able to get in this stage. Boston win, Houston win, Atlanta. No question right now that Florida Mayhem have the comps, they have the confidence, and they also have the flexibility to be able to play in this meta.
Just the way that Florida play with such confidence, great to see. They're so proactive, shutting everything from Justice down, who had their own chances to get the card going, got a little spawn camped, having a good time. Will the fun end very soon? Well, we'll find out after the break where Dorado will be our next map. for Justice. Not working out this series 0-2, but hey, we are having a blast here in the booth watching Florida do Florida things, causing the mayhem. But this next map might mean that our fun is over soon, Necra.
And I'm worried about Jax, as you saw that tweet go across the bottom of your screen before he came back from break. I think you're gonna have to get Florida Mayhem tattooed on your forehead. Hope you're ready for that.
And you'll be Florida Man IRL. So that's cool for you, I guess. Dorado is up next, as we said, and this is an extremely strong map for Florida based on, well, how their series against Atlanta went.
That was an impressive hold onto the Atlanta Reign when it came down to just a full shutout that Florida Mayhem were able to put onto that team in particular. Dorado is a fantastic dive map. You see a lot of Sombra Tracer, just where the health packs are placed, the buildings that you can pepper between with the Winston, and Florida Mayhem put on a clinic, whether it was with the Winston or the Diva with that Echo.
What's unique about Florida is they have so much trust in Merit. Like, who wouldn't? Guys, like, amazing mechanically, but so much trust that they let him play Widow on this map on both sides against one of the best teams in the league. And he has clutched up, Merit has clutched up fights, especially on point A, to deny that cap from Atlanta on their attack. So we'll see if Merit will return to that Widow once again. Obviously, Justice aren't Atlanta Reign, so I feel like you would be even more confident to put Merit back on that Widow. But yeah, the dive defense, but the Diva offense, which was unique there for Florida too.
Wasn't expecting that out of someone, but the Diva made a lot of sense, just looking at being able to have the peel necessary with the defense matrix. There's a couple of other ways to also just keep Merit alive, but Merit's also so warm in this series. Whether it's been the Cassidy so far, or all of the Sojourn we got a chance to see on Li Shang, our first map of the series, Merit's been clicking heads and taking names. That's the only way that I feel like we can put that. And to see the Widowmaker here too would be really, really fun.
As someone goes back to that Diva attack that they did against Atlanta, Checkmate usually played Echo on that map, so switching things up, not having a Mercy pocket there is interesting, but now going to Symmetra to TP the supports of Trong and RuPaul to that top right building. But once you see Justice already lurking there, this is a strat that they can read. Justice gave up that building though. Now Merit's in a good position along with, well, his supports to protect him.
Oh, look at the Widow too. Hunting the Tracer? Are you kidding me?
No,
what was that flick shot? Yeah, oh my goodness.
That is so hard to do too. It's such a small hitbox in midair. Teru is gone too. You need Florida to make Florida uncomfortable, mainly Merit. Because if he's set up, he's going to hit those headshots, and RuPaul has somehow found Okay, look how Florida are so in deep. All right, that's GG point A.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, Merit gets just to play payload here. Can spy check a little bit if you want to play Widow 76, but at the end of the day, you can also grapple up to the high ground, on top of the church, get some really nice picks. I see Checkmate on the Echo too, just to help keep the Washington Justice off of the high ground, give Merit more space to work with. And this is the confidence and trust you said, like in Merit we do trust with this Widowmaker. It's going full in on this with how much space Florida can create with this comp.
Merit is just donut walling Flora right now, who hacked them, and he turned around and he's like, oh, it's just you. Alpha E double blinks from the right side, tries to recall right away, especially after seeing Merit scope in. Someone, meanwhile, says he soft dives to the high ground, but with Mirror nanoed in his face, someone has to drop down. He'll have the second life thanks to the self-destruct. Checkmate with the dupe. Now the Justice are falling off that high ground. Florida want to punish this as best as they can, but Justice quickly disengage after the self-destruct from someone. He's back into mech, and Justice haven't really lost anything despite kind of a decent investment from Florida.
Ooh, you see the pulse bomb? It's not going to hit anybody right now, but Florida got a pretty nice hack. Alfie, you can be able to take a checkmate here.
Yeah, Justice coming down from the high ground at the perfect moment. Oh, you can catch Checkmate on the ground, but Merit catches Teru's face. So now Justice have to be careful with limited heals, especially heals coming on ping there from Donghoon. Gets chased down by Chorong, and with those supports removed, Florida will move forward.
Florida. Oh my gosh. Florida, either they're gonna hit you from the front with Merritt getting those shots, or Chorong is able to give a whip shot to the face. And Florida have just looked untouchable this series. They're playing so in sync around these dives. Maybe there's gonna be... You gotta see an ante from Teru. That's one way that Washington Justice can initiate on these fights. Just find somebody in the backline, RuPaul, Chorong, someone to isolate. That would be a way for Washington Justice to get back in this with Florida's EMP2.
Yeah, Justice are trying to rotate through bottom bank to avoid any sight lines of Merit, which is difficult because not even Mirror is safe from headshots. They engage off of EMP from Flora, which might have caught RuPaul. Chorong rallies, and he'll be the only source of support for Florida, who are still having good headway on this card. And someone self-destructs to prevent the cap, and someone tried the bash forward. All ping, and the rally 2 deleted. So Florida have 4.5 minutes for C.
Florida can play so far forward too, with checkmate coming up on the duplicate. And it's been so impressive to watch how Florida Mayhem are playing around this composition again like they did against the Atlanta Reign. You got the Echo and the Diva to play up close towards the opponent. You've got RuPaul able to play a little bit farther back with the Batiste, just make sure that you can pepper down that damage. Florida's gonna come out on the Widowmaker. Try to go toe-to-toe with Merit.
Oh, well, Merit's dead, so Flora wins on point C. Just kidding. But Alpha E going back to the Tracer, it was something that maybe he didn't feel so strongly on. Remember when he went to Genji on Eichenwald? Clearly trying something different, but feeling himself on the Tracer. Checkmate trying to come up from maybe behind the defense. And he has the dupe too, so he has a second life. Merit gives him vision, so he really wants to hunt down Teru or Donghoon, ideally to remove the nano potential, but he's waiting for the call. He's waiting for Florida to take more space, but while Florida being so patient, Justice take the initiative. They have Mirror diving in thanks to the nano. He's got Primal. He has everyone exactly where he wants them. But he took so much damage quickly, so didn't confirm many kills. If anything, Justice's backline started to suffer. And Florida have 3 minutes, and they're almost capping. Justice didn't even contest the cards. Mirror has to jump on, and it's in the middle of a self-destruct. And now there's no one left because, well, there's checkmate up in there, stopping the spawn room doors. So 3 minutes for Florida.
Checkmate plays such an aggressive Echo. That's not something we get a chance to see super often. I mean, Sugar Free's Echo yesterday for the Vancouver Titans was so much fun to watch. It was more of a team-oriented play style rather than even sometimes a solo operator bodyguard we're seeing from Checkmate. It's looking
tough.
really good for Florida here. And with Merit on the Widowmaker on defense, this could be super tough for Washington.
Yeah, Merit was a factor when it came to point A. That flick headshot on Alfie, disgusting. Florida just didn't even really have a fight. They just sailed to point A like there wasn't ever a defense. Just off of these first picks that we've talked about that Florida are so good at. They advanced to point B where Justice had good cycling of the high ground, knowing when to disengage based on the Florida commitment. But Justice's presence on the card isn't always there, and that's because it's usually a Tracer's job to anchor the card as much as they can. But Alpha E is also one of the best players on Justice who outputs the most amount of damage, and he needs to be involved with the dives with Mirror.
It's so tough to do that, though, too, when there's just no time for the Justice to get set up. Getting past the Checkmate Echo, the Someone Diva, never really got a chance to sit and breathe. But Washington Justice are on the attack now. Merit's hunting.
Oh, they're trying to expect the top rate TP from the Justice, where that Widow would be, so Merit came pre-scoped. Obviously, that's gone, and Florida tries a different position to the bottom right. Gets already lasered down by Checkmate, and I can already tell Florida are just not going to let Justice have any space to operate. This is also a well-placed bubble by someone, which cut off the heels onto Alpha E, who blinked past it. So, well, Florida touched the spawn room doors now.
Merit's just set up in such a nice position. He's been untouched, by the way. He has only one death. Someone and Chorong haven't died yet. What a testament to the survivability that Florida Mayhem have. They are so good at keeping each other alive.
Oh, Mirror force the reposition out of checkmate. And that was almost a shot that Florida could take to get at least a first take for Justice, get the ball rolling. But here's doing a good job of at least zoning off Florida from these first top buildings and force Florida back all the way towards that archway. As Florida can maybe get, Flora can get set up into the top right, maybe find the back line of Florida. You're already seeing Florida's defense disengage to the market side, so Justice are making progress.
Justice get a chance to move forward. Flora now hopefully has a bit more space to operate with. So Merit's gonna get pushed back too. This is gonna be a really interesting dance between these two Widowmakers when you have these nice straightaways to work with. It's about that Winston bubble placement from someone in Mirror.
Don't wake him, don't wake him. Oh, Mirror stomped on him and woke him up, but it's okay. Well, someone has Primal. He could be going in deep, and yeah, sends it on the Primal. Has Donghun in the corner, but after noticing Chorong is dead, someone kind of looks behind him. You guys are fine. I'm gonna keep being a menace. Someone jumps back just in time to grab the health pack. And, well, you got sights for Flora, which may deny the reposition of Merit on that top archway. Checkmate duplicates the Winston. You got two tanks, just like back in Overwatch 1. We'll see if that will be enough to stop Justice from capping.
Oh, my goodness. The pocket onto Merit. He stayed alive so much longer than I would have ever expected with Mirror up in his face.
Yeah, so far so good for the Justice once that dupe went away. Florida supports, though, are safe, moving up to support someone who's taking that forward positioning. At least making Flora uncomfortable has been a goal accomplished by Florida. God, my brain is hurting. And Justice finally capped.
Good capture. Take the high ground. Take the initiative. Washington Justice don't have a whole lot to work with here, but neither do the Florida Mayhem. Where's Alpha going? No. Oh, they know. They know he's in there.
Hey, Flores, at least he's got covering fire on his boy.
But I liked that. I like that positioning from Alfie, if only to draw the Florida Mayhem into Flora's sights. You could either look at that as cover or also look at that as a great strategy to micro-position Florida Mayhem into a better position to shoot them down. But with that too, yeah. Flora getting some sights. Mirror gets a chance to play a little bit more aggressive.
Oh, goodbye, Tara. Oh,
no.
Sleep? I was not a believer,
I was sick.
Apparently. I jinxed it. Tara has been waiting for Checkmate to push off from that right side. He even went to the high ground. But Checkmate had the jump on him, had the stickies, but that was a life-saving sleep that Tara just hit. Now maybe a fight-winning Nano, but the whip shot from Chorong pushes Mirror back enough, and he doesn't have Primal to maybe get that second jump, but he's got a pretty good stomp onto Merit to keep the ball rolling for Justice. Meanwhile, someone is Primaling. I guess off into the distance, someone is pushing Flora and the supports of Justice forward, and Alpha, he slams them from the front with the pulse bomb, and Justice are coming out ahead in this fight.
Let's go! Play with the momentum! This is amazing! This is exactly what we're going to see from the Justice right now. And it's going to be pick after pick. Flora has the sights. Use them so that Florida Mayhem don't feel comfortable to get back onto the point. They have no choice except to run into the loving arms of the Justice right now with the rally in tow. Oh, Strong. Justice, keep it up.
At least Strong use the rally to touch him for any stuns, but he's gone. Florida, they can get checkmate online here with the dupe. This could be winnable, but it's a tough 4v5 to turn around, and someone just couldn't stall long enough for Florida to find a play, and now you got Florida still trying to disengage, and that'll be free space, and not a bad timing for Justice too. I think, what, they're 1 minute down compared to what Florida had?
Yeah, it's not bad at all. We're gonna see Washington Justice keep pushing forward with this momentum that they started to generate, and we gotta see them keep capitalizing on this. It's already been fantastic. Second point was a breeze for them, but Flora might struggle a little bit on the Widowmaker. If Washington Justice gets stopped here, they may want to consider switching off of that onto the Sombra, maybe get an EMP online.
Well, that'll be his moment to change now. He's got dove on. He got the nade from RuPaul from the high ground. Florida stuffing them through these chokes too. Yeah, Florida goes to the Sombra, Flora goes to the Sombra, and that'll be important to get any hacks. Maybe get checkmate down from the ground. And Justice get a good punish there, but it's someone who's nanoed it, and he's going to be body blocked from getting out, and he'll make the space if he needs to. Another someone primal. He's just tossing Teru to Neverland. Great sleep. He'll buy Teru some time to find his team, but is it going to be enough? Someone is harassing them, and Justice finally punished this.
Amazing stuff coming out from the Justice. This is night and day to what we ended up seeing on Eichenwald. This is the type of thing we come to expect from the Justice, being able to play more aggressive on the attack. Just keep pushing forward with all these picks. Mirror gets to get up to the spawn doors.
Teru is making the plays too. That was a two-man anti, especially on the checkmate, which finished him off. Turon with the rally to stall things out. RuPaul's not even getting any of that TLC. Justice with the 3 minutes are about to cap with about 1:20, so it gives them another round, another shot to fight.
They are well on their way. Justice are well on their way to potentially taking a map off of Florida Mayhem. And we talked about this at the start of the series. Look at Mirror. He's having a good time. I think Justice are just happy to find themselves in this position where they could take that map off of Florida. Florida have yet to really get that clean 3-0 since playing against the Houston Outlaws at the beginning of this stage, and tend to falter on these more payload-oriented maps.
Yeah, it felt like Florida are starting to ease up a bit. Like, they're kind of being really aggro. If I'm gonna just be really nice. Like, Florida just have someone like primaling off into the distance. You got Justice, meanwhile, who are playing from front to back, so while someone is gone, especially Alfie, solo killed Chorong and RuPaul to win them point B. Especially Teru is hitting critical sleeps on the checkmate antis that are really always focused on checkmate. So Justice are finding these plays when Florida are going in a little too deep. There is that punishing power that comes out of the Justice, which puts them ahead. Florida is still winning the majority of fights, hence why the time bank isn't more than it is for the Justice, but it gives them a chance to, yeah, I guess like you said, see if it's winnable.
Be careful. Checkmate. Just standing behind the wall, they know Flora's on the Widowmaker right now after seeing that shot come through, and oh, Checkmate got so close there if it wasn't for that Bionade.
Yeah, defensive Widow is just having such a huge advantage of the different positions you can have, all the space, all the cover. While as the offensive Widow here, it's tough. Yeah, like you see where Flora is, right next to the spawn room doors. It's the only place where you can't really be accessed by a Winston.
Staying inside of Mirror's jump range too, in case Flora does get dove on someone or checkmate, then you have the ability to bounce back and make sure that your Widowmaker is protected. But I like that Alfie is also playing this aggressive back style where you have the option for Mirror to go in and pincer the Florida Mayhem. And you're also forcing the Florida Mayhem off of this high ground now to try to take care of Alfie in the back.
It's important that Mirror stayed alive there. He got anti, brought down to like less than a quarter health. He managed to live. He just can't afford any staggers. With this being the final fight for the Justice, less than 10 seconds left. They got progress on the cart, at least at the archway. No picks really coming out of the Justice, just soft dives to make the space. That maybe what it comes down to is a perfect defense out of the Justice for now, though. They slowly get through this archway, coming up to some important ults, but it's RuPaul closer to the Nano. That's the first thing we're going to see. Maybe even a dupe from Checkmate, but Merit hits the headshot of Stone, who's the Nano on the Checkmate, dives into the back, right after Teru, and Justice have no healing remaining. And I don't think there's going to be much more progress now that Checkmate is anchoring the cart there as a duped Winston. Mirror is all on his own. Primal won't come out in time, and that's the end of the road for the Justice.
That's tough. You can't send Flora down to touch as the Widowmaker. You just get insta-deleted. By the time that Mirror had also been cleansed of the ante, it was just a little too late. But Washington Justice, I know it's looking bleak here, having to go up against a 3-minute time bank, but I want to believe, Jen, I really want to believe that this is a holdable position. We have seen teams do this, but it takes a flawless defense from the Justice to get it done, and 3 minutes is a lot to have to work up to ultimates in that time.
Well, the cope is that Justice got further than the Atlanta Reign against Florida when it comes to their attack. Like,
that's a great point.
And Justice capped with like a good time bank. So they just Florida had a speed run, and this might be what determines the map.
Oh, but Merit's Widowmaker has been so deadly when it comes down to taking out every member of the Justice. That was framed perfect for Donghoon's shield to go down before taking off his head in the progress. And when we see Merit on the Widowmaker on attack too, this is why Florida Mayhem ended up with such a large time bank after completing the map.
And you see Flora adjusting his position on the attack too, where he was just getting chased by someone, and Justice didn't really give up any deaths up until overtime started, so they are playing it as safe as possible. Merit looking for Flora. Might have even spotted Teru back there. Teru has to be careful. Merit has the lineup. And someone starts to take space onto that top right. Mirror's going to jump right on top of him to place the bubble, which will force someone down. But now you have Alpha Yi blinking towards the spawn room doors, making at least Merit uncomfortable.
I love Alpha Yi just going behind enemy territory, so Florida also have to commit their healing resources into Merit. You see all those cookies from Chorong heading over in that direction to keep them up, but this is where it comes down to the wire. That payload is so close. Washington Justice can't afford to lose a member here.
Yeah, Justice have to play perfectly, and you're going to see some rounds of ultimates, even if this neutral fight goes the Justice's way. But up above is Checkmate. Laying it down on Flora. Great peel from Mirror. The punish of the Checkmate is there. Usually that would be Alpha Yi's job, but Mirror's doing everything to make this winnable. Trying to stay in line of sight of his healers. Mirror with 30 HP, 75 to the Primal. And Justice just get folded. Florida just simply overwhelm them every step of the way, and they'll do so in the series with a full sweep.
That was still super close from the Justice. I'm really impressed with the level of play that we ended up seeing, even in terms of the team coordination, and I can't wait to see what they're going to look like when they end up getting Donghoon's visa sorted, because we're going to see a different Justice from there on out. I fully believe that. But for the Florida Mayhem, that was a victory lap. They have looked so good this stage, and it is hard to argue that any team can stand up to them right now.
Yeah, I like that Florida were reacting to the play of the game by Chorong on the Brig, who I felt was just having the freedom to simply beat everybody down on the Brig. And if you don't have a punish onto a Brig, that there is a problem. But like I said, I think Justice had a much better effort today compared to yesterday. You know, yes, Donghoon's on ping. You're not seeing Justice at their full potential, but you are seeing Florida at the peak of their success. Beating amazing teams, now being able to have more consistent sweeps against the middle of the pack team. So Florida are in a great position to maybe try to chase that first seed.
They're well on their way. They're well on their way. Taking down Boston, Houston, Atlanta. There are very few teams left that are standing in Florida's way at the moment. Maybe taking a look at some of the APAC teams, I'd love to see Dallas versus Florida. That seems to be one for the books to look forward to in future weeks, of course, as we start looking towards the playoffs. But your player of the match, Merit. Oh, Merit.
Oh.
Like so well deserved.
Yeah, Merit was just heavy targeting Teru and Donghoon, had great sticks throughout Eichenwald that opened up these fights, had Alpha Yi and Flora swapping roles too, trying to figure out how they could stop Merit. And there's so much confidence from Florida, like we said, to trust Merit to pull out the Widow. Because you can be mechanically amazing, but hitting the headshot is what's important. 23% scoped accuracy, crit accuracy, and 3 deaths. You pointed out like that Merit had, what, 1 death on the first half? So Merit's been unstoppable.
He's been absolutely unstoppable. And there were even some rounds that we saw earlier on where he went deathless. It's been incredible to watch him grow as a player and just to be able to find his own as a star DPS on this Florida Mayhem roster, with showing us so many different heroes. Merit's hero pool is perfect for this meta at hand, where we're seeing a lot of different compositional swaps. And with Florida also leaning more into the Ramatra Brawl, getting better at the Winston Dive too, feels like it's going to be a tough ask for Florida to not find something that they could win on.
Well, for the Washington fans out there, there is a solace to all of this. I did hear from the coach that Donghoon will be able to join the team next week. So the season isn't looking that grim. Maybe we'll have the Winnington Justice. I'm not sure, but Donghoon being a part of the team is so critical. I remember casting him in APAC. Donghoon is an impactful player on the Brig, and that'll be important for him to be on ping. So Florida take the 3-0. Up next, we'll have the London Spitfire versus the Vegas Eternal. But first, we'll throw it to a break. When we return, we'll have the Watch Point desk, an interview, more shenanigans around the corner.
Welcome back, one and all. This was a beatdown. The Florida Mayhem did exactly what we expected to see from them, and that is dominating the Washington Justice, a 3-0 sweep, so we can move on to the next game. But first, of course, we do want to break it down just a little bit. They are still, of course, struggling with the lag, but Lemon Kiwi said it at the end of the cast there as well. They do expect Donghoon to actually join them next week, hopefully. So maybe those issues will be resolving. Yep. For now, though, this is an L on the board and another W for the Florida Mayhem.
Yeah, I do feel like Flora was really impressive on the Widow today on Dorado, but I feel like he has been a little bit lackluster playing the other heroes compared to Alfie, who looks so strong on the Tracer, the Echo, anything he comes out on. And I think overall that's really hindering Justice in the dive. I think they came out so strong this season. We were really shocked to see them do as well as they did. But against a team like the Florida Mayhem, that's just too tall of an ask. I mean, every single player in the Florida Mayhem, I mean, this team just beat Atlanta. So for Justice, you can take this loss, I think, and not be too disappointed by it, but still, I think you want a little bit more production. You want a little bit more identity. We can say it's just the Brig ping situation, but I mean, just looking at this match, I don't feel like you can really put this all on Donghun and his ping.
No, I absolutely agree with that. The first map was actually kind of close. We should give Washington credit there.
Absolutely.
Like, Ben Best coming out of the Reinhardt from Control Center, the Reinhardt comp looked pretty good. We know Ben Best is a great Rein. And also then Alfie on the Pharah was really good on Night Market as well, but they just couldn't get the job done. So credit to Washington Justice there. But apart from that, really, I mean, I guess they did cap out Dorado as well. So, you know, there was a 3-0 scoreline, but 2 maps were relatively close here. So still some pretty all right signs from the Washington Justice, but, you know, Florida Mayhem, big favorite coming into this one, and they got the job done 3-0, so.
Yeah, really well played by them.
Yeah, Johnny, you actually caught a really great moment from the Florida Mayhem there as well.
Yeah,
so
I did.
I'm excited for
I actually have a question on
illustrations
this.
in a little bit. Yeah, please go
Guys,
ahead.
so I mean, Florida Mayhem on Dorado, they've been using a lot of Diva. I think it was Bap and Brig, right? On their attack. What is the thought process you guys think of using that composition for their attack?
I don't mind this comp at all on the offense. It's like a style of offense where you want to almost put yourself in the position of the defenders where the attackers have to come to you. You're going to play this Widow and Echo, outputting a ton of damage. Widow's always looking for picks. And so that's going to make the defenders feel like they need to dive at all times. Like they have to pressure your Widow, they have to pressure your Echo, or they might just get picked off. And then the Diva, Bap, and Brig are just some of the hardest heroes to dive. I think Bap is kind of interesting on the offense on Dorado too. You can get to those high grounds in a way that's really relevant on offense. It's very hard to do on. It takes long rotation. So I think it's an innovative comp. I'm not sure how well it will fare against the very best dive teams, like locking in the Tracer Sombra and just going on your Bap anyway and like just disrespecting them or just poking out your Diva. I think it might be hard. But I think for the Florida Mayhem, it's definitely playing to their strengths, which is what they've been doing all season long, and it's been getting them wins.
Absolutely. Now, that illustration.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this one because I love a good nope moment. When the opposition is coming in with a good plan and the other side is just like, you know what, no thank you.
Was it a good plan?
I mean, it was a plan. It was a plan.
Yeah,
and they tried to execute. But they got shut down.
It was a messy fight for the Washington Justice. But yeah, I wanted to highlight another composition that I think that the Florida Mayhem really executed on. So this time we're actually going to take a look at, big surprise, it's another Reinhardt composition, guys. And the Reinhardt is what I'm really going to highlight throughout this entire illustration here. So where are we? We're actually in Washington Justice attack here. So as we can see down here, down in the middle here, someone is kind of holding this choke, just holding off the Washington Justice. So this is going to be pivotal because essentially the Reinhardt kind of like shuts down here. Like this is just like a no-go zone. Like if you're a mirror on the Winston here, you can't really contest close to the Reinhardt itself. So if you're a mirror in this situation, you sort of have only the balcony to play as your safe zone. Like this is your safe zone where you can leap and take protective costs where like no one on Florida Mayhem can really reach you. So you gotta utilize the balcony and that's gonna be your safe zone. It also does another thing. If we take a look at the support from the Washington Justice, it forces them to rotate a little bit. You can't really play down in the room here because this angle is so close to the point that it gets really easy for Florida Mayhem to engage here with the Reinhardt. So instead, you want to play on the stairs that are down here, we can't really see them, and also in this corridor here on the right side, because that way you can rotate through the right side or you can rotate around to the bottom, right? So 2 ways for the Washington Justice supports to navigate, but this is just based on a Reinhardt pick that really changes the way Washington Justice attacks. So we're going to see as we play this one out that Mirror is actually going to dive aggressively here. And we're going to see him jump to the balcony. Again, this is your safe zone. Now, he drops pretty low here, contesting Merit. This is obviously someone you can dive on. But neither Flora or Alfie is really in a position to follow up here. So Mirror is actually going to build up the Primal Rage. We can play this one out. And he's going to pop the Primal Rage, not only for his health, but also recognizing that this could be a way for him to kill Merit. So as we play this one out, Primal Rage goes out. But Alfie isn't really ready. Flora isn't really ready. No one can do anything. And then we see the sound barrier come out from Chorong. We can pause here. And this suddenly becomes a counter engage when this beat is dropped from Chorong. And we're seeing actually a bit of a pincer attack like Jake highlighted the other day. But this time around, it's the Florida Mayhem where they actually have their Cassidy and their Baptiste come in with this sound barrier while someone is speeding in with Checkmate and Chorong. So great pincer attack. We can play this one out. And the Florida Mayhem, they're just going to abuse the fact that Mirror used his Primal Rage, couldn't get value from the dive, and instead someone is there to follow up. And if we take a look at someone's POV from this one as well, I mean, it's just glorious Reinhardt gameplay on Eichenwalde. Like, there's nothing better, right? We can't hope for more. So someone on the Reinhardt, of course, holding this angle, holding off the backline from the Washington Justice with the help of the May wall from Checkmate. Alfie is like behind the shield, okay? Mirror disengaged, couldn't find value. This is the time we engage. We see the charge come in. Obviously, Primal Winston is a great target, but Accidental Lucios does a really good job as well. Finally, Alfie gets nanoed here from Teru. That's when we drop the Shatter. No value whatsoever from the Nano Dragon Blade. And Washington Justice just gets torn to shreds. So great disengage by Florida Mayhem, and then a counter engage when they find the right moment. Great job by Florida Mayhem. As always, I always highlight them because they're so smart. They're so smart.
They're just so smart. And you know what? We love talking to smart people. That's why I got all of you here on the desk, but also that's why Danny got us a post-game interview ready with Choron.
Yes. Intelligent player. I think he's smarter than any of us. I'm pretty sure.
Very true.
Very true. We got Choron for a quick chat. Choron, congratulations on getting this win. It was a pretty easy, I guess, 3-0 victory for the Florida Mayhem. So how'd you guys get it done? 자, 오늘 승리 축하드리면서 3대0 굉장히 좀 빠르고 쉽게 이룬 것 같습니다. 이때 이제 초롱 선수 보실 때 오늘 승리 좀 어떻게 이루셨나요?
오늘 승리는 되게 가벼운 쉬어가는 단계였던 것 같습니다.
I think today's win is a sort of a light one, sort of a little break for the Florida Mayhem side with this win as well. I mean, yeah, you guys made quick work of the Washington Justice. I do want to ask about sort of Florida Mayhem's composition because you guys are a team that sort of uses like anything, like all of the compositions that we've been talking about, you guys are really good at, whether it's the Ryan Rush or the dive composition, or even the Diva on Dorado as well. So, Choron, what do you think Florida Mayhem's best or strongest composition is? 자, 일단 플로리다 팀이 요즘 또 굉장히 특별한 게 아무래도 좀 다양한 조합을 사용하는 팀으로서 이제 초롱 선수가 보셨을 때 플로리다 팀이 좀 제일 잘하는, 아니면 자신 있는 조합이 있다면 좀 어떤 조합일까요?
저희가 솜트 조합을 제일 잘하는데 그 조합으로 다 이기니까 저희가 다른 조합으로 좀 재미를 좀 봐보자. 그래서 계속 다른 조합을 실험하면서 경기에 계속 보여줬던 것 같습니다.
I think the best composition that I would say for our team is definitely the Sombra Tracer Winston dive composition. But we've been winning a lot of games with that composition, so we want to experiment, have a little fun, and so that's why we're seeing a lot more variety in our comps, and also those have been very effective as well. All right, Choron, that is it for the interview. Thank you so much again, and congratulations on getting the win. 자, 승리 다시 한번 축하드리면서 보내드리도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
감사합니다.
I mean, it's great that they have that confidence to continue to experiment, but I don't think you can just call it having fun. I mean, I think their comps are well suited. Like when they bring out the Rhine on Eichenwald first defense, I mean, that's just a great spot to be on Rhine. Like it's really hard for the attacking Ana to get in position, and they punish it really well with the rush. So I think he is being a little coy saying it's just for fun, like we're just winning so easily, we'll try. I think like these comps are legitimately really strong that Florida brings out, and I think they're not just like easy to beat, you know, they're not just like, oh, if you know, we'll be forced to play Summer Tracer later. Like, I think those comps can definitely win, as London has shown us. Like, you know, you can innovate and win, and it's just about finding the right spot tactically. Or if you're London, playing it up 24/7.
Yeah, I mean, that works for them as well. But yeah, I do think there is something to be said about which opponents you can actually get away with certain things. No one saw that, Danny. It's not a big deal.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no one knows what you're talking about. Like, absolutely nothing happened. Nothing happened.
You're just dropping things all over the place.
How did you even have more than one pen to drop?
I don't know. Go on.
Where are they coming from? Let's take a look at our schedule to see what's coming up next so he can go and find some treasures on the floor. We've got a treasure coming up as well. London Spitfire and, of course, the Vegas Eternal. I am awkwardly excited for this one, and I really shouldn't be. I mean, Paris yesterday, they came as close as they ever gotten to Vegas. I mean, they came as close as they have ever gotten to a victory. However, London Spitfire, they're on fire. They're rolling with the Rheincom. You know, they're bringing the hammer to a knife fight, and it's working out great. Knife fight, of course, because Knife is on the opposition. That's right. And we do see Finale and Knife in the starting lineup. We questioned a lot of the player rotations in their match yesterday. So what do we want to see from them today?
I just want to see them playing the Tracer Sombra comp, right? Like very few teams on this lower end. I've been saying, okay, they need to mix it up, like play what you're strong at. But this iteration of Vegas Eternal, they look best on Tracer Sombra. Like with Knife and Finale playing that comp, that's like their most strong comp as far as I can tell. Especially Tracer Echo. I think Finale has a great Echo, really comfortable on that. But I think those types of dives are where we've seen the best results from them. And I think for a team that just rebuilt, you've got to go with what's working. You know, like I don't think you can like keep searching the playbook, trying new things. maybe here and there where it's especially good, you know, on these like Li Jiang, okay, maybe you're going to play Rush. But for the most part, I think you should be taking this playbook and just like building synergy, building confidence with the new players you picked up who look really good.
Yeah, I think this is going to be especially a tough series for 2U, the new tank coming in for the Vegas Eternal. Historically speaking, was an off-tank player in Overwatch 1 when they had 6 versus 6 and all that. Have now grown more comfortable in the single tank role here in 5 versus 5. But still, I mean, you're going up against Alone of Spitfire. Like, this is a player that we even saw swap over to D.Va, I believe it was yesterday, and he played a lot of D.Va before. Doomfisting contenders, that's not going to cut it here, you know, against Alone of Spitfire. So, yes, an opportunity here on Winston. And like Jake said, like, you know, if you're not expecting to win this series, you might as well just commit the mistakes, really, and have the footage and then correct those mistakes. So that might just be like what the Vegas Eternal should do. Just play with Tracer, Winston, Sombra, and if you make any mistakes, great, you got some footage you can learn from and improve upon.
Great, you got some. That's how I get out of every single game. I was like, well, great, I got some.
Why pull out the competition? You're only gonna play once. You're just like, okay, well, we pulled out once. How do we improve on that? I don't know, play something else. Like, come on, just, you know, if you have a consistent composition, you can learn on it.
Yeah. Just do it like the London Spitfire. Just always play Ryan and see what.
I do think though for Vegas, like they can win. I don't know 2U's competency on heroes like Ball and Doomfist. Even though those heroes aren't strong in dive mirrors, I think they are good against the full Rhine rush since they're just like Doom can get in and out with 2 movement skills, right? You're not relying on your ult to do that, so you can bait some of these Rhine engages.
I'd love to see it.
But I don't know. You need to be very expert on the hero to make it work. And same for Ball, where you have the durability to like tank a Rhine pin and get out of there and still survive. You know, hiding your head hitbox.
I mean, do you guys want them to go cute with their composition, or do you feel like they should just find what works?
Well, I think they should play a dive style,
Johnny,
like a heavy dive style. Maybe even, I think Tracer Echo might be especially good, or you know, Genji Echo, things like that.
Play to one style at variation.
Yeah, but just play to a dive style. I think that's where they look their best, and I think the teams that have tried to match London in these rush mirrors have taken a beating because this Ryan Sim comp is legitimately really good in a rush mirror. Like, it's not a crazy comp to play in a rush mirror. That Sim gets full energy on your tank and just starts tearing you apart. You're on a clock to win, and then the TP adds so much versatility, makes it very awkward to play around all the possibilities.
I'm gonna commit. If the Vegas Eternal with 2U playing Doomfist wins this series, I'm buying a 2U Vegas Eternal jersey with 20% off sale going on right now at shop.overwatchleague.com.
Ooh.
That is okay.
Ooh.
All right.
The plug coming out from Jonathan. Watch out, everyone. It's coming from my job now, which I appreciate, so I don't have to do it. Not my job, the plugs. I love my job. I want to keep that one. But yeah, no, I think so far it's almost ridiculous that London got away with what they're getting away with, but also it's been adding a lot of entertainment to our days. So let's hope they continue on that streak. Certainly from all the interviews we've been having with them, it doesn't sound like they're going to change things up. They figured out that the dive styles don't really work for them. So back to the roots, back to the basics, back to everything that they love, and they're having fun with it. And that's why I just had to roll with the London Spitfire here. It's clear to me that so far no team has been figuring out how to actually effectively shut it down. So I'm predicting some convincing victory here from the London Spitfire. I'm gonna say it.
They just dropped it all.
Reinde! Deutscher Hammermann!
Great job, Danny.
Reinde!
Yeah, that was great.
That's it.
Yeah, I just think these guys, they've got experts across the board. We talk a lot about Hadi, but I think Sparker is really great on the hit scan, and he understands Sim's role in the comp really well. They have the team player on the teleporter. Backbone is like one of the most like Mei-focused players in the Overwatch. Like, I feel like Mei is his best hero, and he plays it all the time. He has so much experience. Admiral and Landon on the support, they look great. They know exactly what to do. They're very hard to kill. These guys are just experts at the Rhine Rush comp, and even if Vegas plays the full dive, I just don't have the confidence that they're going to get it done. I think they're too new of a team to be able to have the coordination to deal with what London's bringing.
Yes.
What they said.
What he said. Yeah.
Well, he covered. He didn't mention Admiral. Admiral, you play Admiral.
That guy.
Looking out for you to speed boost, heal boost, boo. Throw those Cheerios out. That's what I'm talking about, Admiral. Let's go for Estonia, buddy.
Do it for Estonia, everyone. Well, no, I mean, London, of course, they're coming with so much synergy and cohesion. It's going to be tough for the revamped Vegas Eternal to, actually take him down. They are not the favorite heading into this one, but surely someone out there is going to believe. Is it Lemon, Kiwi, and Necra? Is this the last chance for the Vegas Eternal? No one, no, okay. No takers.
Got close.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
That sound was
we'll break that down.
Vegas.
That's a tough sell. Unfortunately, I'm with the desk on this one. Spitfire, they've looked so good on the Reinhardt rush that it's hard for me to feel like any team can hold a candle to this unless they are the top of the top, cream of the crop, Sombra Tracer dive compositions, top 4 teams right now. I think London Spitfire finally figured out how they want to try to approach this meta and just force the Reinhardt. It's working. Don't change that.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, which would be the same advice we would give to the Vegas Eternal yesterday, where a lot of people had questions on the substitutions, right? You had Finale and Knife starting. You got that 2-0. You thought it was going to be a sweep. Vegas Eternal looked amazing. Then they started changing these pieces around. But something that, like, on the London side of things, what they should not change, sticking to the rush, because they've talked about in the interviews how the dive has not been working out for them. And, well, the stats speak for themselves.
Oh, this is brutal. I mean, Hottie was playing the Winston in the first week of series that the London Spitfire played. And as they even had said in the interview, the desk brought this up again. London Spitfire, if they're not getting the wins on the Winston, they don't want to play the Winston. They'd even tried that in one of their most recent series last week, and that also didn't work. They ended up trying the Winston dive. That was the one map that they actually ended up losing in that series, and so I would kind of expect them to not do that again. And that was against the Los Angeles Valiant, by the way.
Yeah, the main things in the main numbers I was noticing is a bit higher deaths from Hottie, less elimination, still good damage, but London have said in the interviews, it's just the entirety of the team. We center this on Hottie, sure, but it's the entirety of the team that are not comfortable on the comp, and they've just almost given that up in the last series for London. They've just only played the rush. Now, this map set will be interesting because there's a lot of dive-oriented maps. Numbani, Gibraltar especially, are maps that you almost need to play dive, and we'll see if London opt for that at all.
Well, that's the big thing that London Spitfire can have a comeback on. London Spitfire actually played the first 2 maps of this map set against New York Excelsior, trying to run a bit more of the Winston dive and losing those maps and eventually the series. So let's see if they can actually end up getting a comeback here, see if they force the rush. They have been forcing the rush on some of those other maps, looking at Gibraltar, forcing the Reinhardt Sim versus San Francisco Shock. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if London Spitfire want to continue on the Reinhardt rush for any of these maps, despite whether or not the map architecture ends up playing towards that. Yeah. So it's on the Vegas Eternal to make their own adjustments against what they expect to come out from London.
And unboom themselves from being reverse swept. And this was the Game 5 Busan that they lost on, which crushed them. But it was the Finale Knife combo, the one that started well but didn't end well for them on Busan. But when it comes to having these 2 DPS duos, Empress is very confident in these substitutions and what players play on what maps and what compositions they want to run, which when you see Dove, it's the Sombra. When Finale and Knife, it's only death for the other teams on the other side. We'll see if Vegas can have a good start the way they did before, but charging on in is Hottie, while Sparker is slept. At least Hottie will be a good distraction. Even while he's low, he's chewing gum, he's chilling, he's on the point, and Vegas ain't contesting.
Ooh, Knife gets a nice pick onto Landon, though. Without that main source of healing, London Spitfire might have to consider just backing away to be in Landon's LOS once he ends up getting back. But that's not going to stop somebody on Vegas to try to flip the point.
Oh, Knife, that shot into Admiral. And when it comes to Knife and Finale, they actually have very similar hero pools. They're both very proficient tracers. I'm actually surprised to see Knife on the tracer because that's what he was carrying on yesterday as Vegas take back the point. Finale mainly played tracer for his previous team of, what was it, Poker Face. And that was his specialty. And having to trade that back and forth with Knife is probably what caused a lot of instability for Vegas.
Vegas look like they're pretty stable right now on the Hanzo, though. Take a look at the Dragon Strike already coming out.
Splits up London just for a second, maybe brings out the immortality there of Landon. Vegas just respecting that space. 2U backing away at hack help. London charge on in. Landon deals with the flankers, so London can focus on the front. Hottie, even while his healers were occupados, didn't even drop too far down in health. Speaking of which, 2U is now having a blizzard thrown at him. Unnecessary, but I respect it. Vegas lose the point.
Blizzard's okay. There's a lot of mobility on Vegas Eternal to try to just get away from the Blizzard overall, or you expect that maybe the rally's going to be coming up soon. So go ahead, throw it in there. And that way the Rakitech rally can be used for something else. But London still have a ton to work with. And Backbone, no fear. This man has no fear against the Hanzo.
And 4v5, like Vegas pulled the trigger, also nanoing to you, and with the annihilation, it did get London pretty low. And as London disengaged to the point, Vegas were able to find the flank. Finale takes out Sparker, no DPS at all for London, who just want to die on the point, extend what they have, which is about 60-ish%. And Vegas win the fight to take it back.
Nice stuff coming out from Finale there. We've already sung some of his praises coming back into the Overwatch League on the Vegas Eternal, and now getting a chance to see his Tracer work in action once again. Finale was such a bright spot for Vegas in their match yesterday. So getting a chance to see the Tracer here working in tandem with some of the more frontline pressure coming out from Tuyu. Finale with the pulse bomb too. Watch out.
Oh, rotated into the face of a Deadeye. Finale has no fear. The immortality didn't come out fast enough for Landon to negate that pulse bomb in Vegas as they rushed on in from the front when the flank was secure from Finale. Tuyu took too much blunt damage, and now you don't have a tank for Vegas, which is just open season for Hottie. Of course, Vegas tries to slow down the push using a Dragon Strike, and Finale is still behind them, and London just tried to play this from front to back, but Finale gets another 3K in this fight to quite literally carry Vegas to another fight win.
This is now one fight away from Vegas taking the first round in this map. Backbone gets a chance to come back with the Blizzard, but it's going to be tough to land that onto the entirety of Vegas Eternal. You're going to want to see if you can get that onto the Ramatra. Make sure you lock that down so the front line can evaporate, but it's going to be the amplification matrix from Landon to push everybody back.
Forces Vegas back to the point. Finale, how is London gonna keep this Tracer in check? The pulse is ready, throws it at the speed of that Hanzo. Sparker did take some splash damage, has to be careful. Blizzard there from Backbone just to secure that real estate for London. Tuyu steps up, he's nanoed though, so damage mitigation helps him survive. He, well, wakes back up on his 2 feet with the annihilation, steps forward, and nobody from London wants to smoke, so Vegas Eternal will be taking downtown.
Great first round here for Vegas. This is how they kicked off their series yesterday. Just asserting some dominance on the control points, and Vegas looked very in sync for this Ramatra composition, allowing Finale to just operate in the backline of the London Spitfire, and Knife also getting some nice arrows down to help Finale get the cleanup. We're heading over to Mecha Base, where London Spitfire's composition becomes even more potent, with the movable walls, as well as just all of these close quarters fights by the spawn rooms, where London Spitfire can start to hold the door. So if London get control of this point first, it's going to be tough for Vegas to come back into this one without getting a first pick.